Well, I'm in Boston right now. This is Charles Moscowitz, and my guest is Tommy Breedlove. He's the author of Legendary, coming out of, I think you're in Atlanta, right, Tommy?
I'm in Atlanta today. I normally live on Delta Airlines, but today I'm in
And
Atlanta.
there you go. Okay, so you're quite well. Right now, no one's living on Delta Airlines.
Indeed.
So anyway, but you've got a very. I just want to, before we get into the content of your book, you've got a really interesting backstory. You've had ups and downs, and in a way, that's very interesting because someone who's experienced failure is in a better position to understand what success is. I think
Mhm.
it was Bill Gates who said that he always, when he'd hire executives, he would hire people who had gone bankrupt or who had had a major failure because, unlike someone just out of college who got a business degree who didn't really know real life, there's somebody who's dealt with adversity and came out of it and knew how to deal with real life situations and what it took to, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, whatever, to fix themselves to the point where they can emerge and be better. So you strike me as that type. I mean, you were incarcerated as a young man. You then became a very big success in finance, but yet you weren't connecting that to your own personal life, in which
Mhm.
led to some kind of a breakdown. Then you basically developed an integrated personality where you could be successful, but at the same time live a truly heroic and self-directed life. So, let's find out what makes you tick.
Oh, absolutely, brother. Do you want me to share a little bit of my backstory to get a little more in depth of how
Please.
what that? And I'll do it pretty quickly too. So I grew up in South Atlanta, near the airport, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Dad was a mechanic at Delta. Mom worked a lot of part-time jobs. Really hardworking, solid, blue collar, good roots part of the world. Unfortunately for me, I grew up with a lot of abuse and violence inside the house and some outside of the house. There were some racial tensions and some other things that were happening in that particular part of the world back in the
Mm-hmm.
70s and 80s. And so the worst thing that happened to me is I become what I hated. So over time, as a young man, slowly but surely, I became that angry, violent type. It's kind of the apple didn't fall from the tree, for lack of a better word. And
Right.
so
I
at
guess.
18 years old, I was planning on being the first person to go to college in my family. Had a full ride to the University of Georgia, half a ride to the University of Miami down in Florida, and some other colleges. And instead, committed a violent crime and was looking at 7 years in prison,
Oh,
two
yeah.
felonies. Not good, brother. And
No, no,
so
no, no. And
it's
it
not
seems
good.
like you screwed up just at the moment where you were about to
Get
get,
out.
yeah, to take off, which is
To-
interesting right there.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then so it's some amazing things. So luckily, it was dropped to two heavy misdemeanors. I was sentenced because, once you have that felony, it's hard to overcome that the rest of your life. So it's dropped to two heavy misdemeanors. I actually was sentenced to 2 years with one suspended, but spent my 19th birthday incarcerated. Here's
Hmm.
a cool part of the story that I'm happy to share now.
Yeah.
Is a 45-year-old African American gentleman, and that's very unusual in incarcerations. People don't cross racial lines; it's very cliquish among racial lines.
Hmm.
But this man, this great man named Tony, saw something in me. Saw he loved me when I couldn't love myself. He mentored me, held me accountable. Said, "Look, brother, look." He called me young blood. Look, young blood, you're not going to be a revolving door in this system. And so, with his leadership, his mentorship, I dusted myself off afterward. I went to work at a nuclear waste container factory for $5.50 an hour, putting
Hmm.
myself through community college at night. Ended up, I'm sure you see UGG over my shoulder. Ended up at the University of Georgia. So I went from jail to a nuclear waste container factory to UGA to Deloitte and Touche in 3 years,
Oh,
which is
the
what,
consulting firm. Yeah, you
which
bet.
is
Huge.
which is now I think the largest financial consulting and public accounting firm in the world.
Yes, it's enormous.
So I did that in 3 years. So fast forward to 36 years old. I've left Deloitte. I've been recruited out of other firms. I was recruited and kept moving up the ladder through all these different firms. So I'm at one of the largest financial public accounting firms in the Southeast United States. I'm a principal, got all the stuff, fancy cufflinks, you name it, car, title, power, super
Good.
cool office, blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't figure out why I was so unhappy and so miserable. And when the money, the power, the next big deal, the next big paycheck, it didn't fill me up. I basically turned into the Wolf of Wall Street, and the darkness that happens in that
Oh yeah,
story.
I've seen that. Sure.
So that's
And
what I
that
turned
and
into.
that's a true story. I mean, that's That's happening.
And I lived it. And I lived it
Yep.
as well. And
Sure.
so I found myself probably doing some multi-million-dollar deal or financial audit 2 weeks before this, but then I found myself lying in a ditch in downtown Atlanta, staring up at the sky, half dressed, didn't know where my car was, thinking, how the hell did I get here? And I knew right then, I don't know if it was that little boy, I don't know if it was God or a combination of both. It says, you got to get up and you got to be better and you got to dust yourself off. And so, brother, I went through this massive emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual transformation. I didn't leave the world. I didn't leave the financial world, but I made me my full-time job, man. And so the most amazing things started happening over the next 3 years. My marriage, luckily, my wife, she's been a foundation in my life. She stayed with me through all of this. My
Excellent.
marriage became the best it's ever been. The negative influences and friends disappeared out of my life. My network, my friendships, they started going up 5, 10x. And then in my professional life, man, I went from junior partner to senior partner to international practice leader to elected to the board of directors. At 39 years old, there I am at the top of the game. I'm a senior partner, equity holder, and a board member just by being a better man, a real leader, a man of integrity, a man of accountability, a man of actions. No longer the tough guy, cool guy, important guy, those fake masks that we wear. But I was just living my life. And so there I am at the top of the game. And this is when things started really shifting for me, is that all of these entrepreneurs, corporate executives, lawyers, bankers, accountants, some politicians, my network really, my professional network started reaching out to me and said, look, man, you didn't give up your drive. You didn't give up your ambition. You didn't give up your integrity. Your relationship's best there ever was. You've got peace of mind and balance in your life. What drug are you taking? How do you do it? Give it to me, man. I want that. And I was like, look, it's a lot of work. And so that's when my book, Legendary, which has now become a USA Today and Wall Street bestselling book. I'm super excited about that.
That's amazing.
But this is the playbook literally that changed my life, transformed my life. I didn't want to give up my financial confidence, my ambition, my drive, but I wanted to have a whole list. I wanted to have it all in life. I wanted to be happy and peaceful and successful. And I'm a big believer that we can have it all. I don't like the victim mentality. I don't like the entitled mentality. I just think if we're accountable, we work hard, great, and we rewire our brains, hearts, and minds to believe we're good enough. We have. And so I literally, at the top of my game, I remember this on Valentine's Day, I called my wife and said, I'm going to sell my equity in this firm and resign. And I was the 65% breadwinner of the company.
Wow.
I was like, I've got to check. I've been called to be a coach, to be a mentor. So I do a lot for entrepreneurs, executives, ambitious people who want better relationships, who really want to be the master of their business, money, and mindset and relationships with their significant others and family. That's my cup of tea. And so about the 50th or 100 guy, whether it was in a mastermind format, a one-on-one coaching format, me on a stage or group coaching, I realized this playbook that changed my life is literally changing their lives. And so that's when I decided to write the book, Legendary. And it is my pinnacle thing in life. I'm so proud of it. It's something that I think right now during this COVID nonsense it's a necessity, not a luxury, because we've all got fear. Our businesses are struggling. Politicians are at their throats more than they've ever been. There's a lot of nonsense in the media. There's a lot of fear and division. And so for me, books like this that help us conquer our time, find purpose, master our mindset, and develop better relationships and build toward financial confidence and freedom. These are the books. These are the teachings that are necessary at this time. So I'll stop talking now. That's my story, brother.
No. It's a perfect book for the COVID-19. Now that we're all cooped up inside, we have a chance to think about our lives, to think about our relationships, get to know the old ladies, so to speak, get to know the kids. It's self-sufficiency. That this is a good addendum to that, and I think that it's quite admirable that you, as a very successful businessman who was at the top of the game, making huge amounts of money and being in the middle of these deals, was able to suddenly realize that part of your purpose in life and part of your joy was to also teach other people how to function in the world of success, and at the same time be, to mentor them. To me, that's like a spiritual thing. I mean, that's a calling. And the fact that you were able to separate yourself from the business, you made your money. You didn't have anything to prove, right? I mean, then you decided you wanted to give something back. This is like in a way like what some very wealthy people do, I don't know, Bill Gates. I don't know if he's a good example of that, but Warren
Rockefeller
Buffett.
did it.
Yeah, I mean, they're giving their money to various causes. They've stepped aside. In my opinion, that's what President Trump is all about. I know you don't want to get into that, but he made his money, he made his fame, he had everything he wanted, he had a great family. He decided at his age, he was like nearing 70, that he wanted to get something back. He wanted to do something for the country that set the stage for his ability to become successful. And I see you as being part of that. And I think that's amazing. I mean, to me, that's a great gift.
Thank you, man. It's to be mentioned in those names is quite humbling, and I'm super grateful for that. It is it took a lot of courage. I'm not going to tell you I didn't have some demons and insecurities to overcome to walk away at the top of the game. To, a lot of us ambitious, driven people get our validation from our jobs and what we do in this world, and I was no exception to that. But you said something that was there's two things that I am so passionate about this work because I'm called to it. It literally transformed my life in every single facet. I mean, I can't, it's hard for me to explain how different my life is from that world to this world, from happiness to success to fulfillment to giving and serving and being called, like you said. So it is a calling for me. It's a passion. It is my purpose in life. I believe we all have a purpose in life. I believe it changes depending on our season of life. You just mentioned President Trump. He was a businessman, a real estate developer, but I think his purpose changed, his calling changed, and he wanted to change politics. And so I think our purpose does change depending on the season of life. Right now, this is it for me, brother. And candidly, I hope I can say this on some level. I'll say it this way. So I'm not sure. I'll say it this way so it's appropriate. I'm angry. I'm angry that so much I see amazing, beautiful, successful, impactful humans. And I work with mostly entrepreneurial, I work with business people. That's typically, I spend 50% of my time in business and 50% of my time money in business, and then 50% of my time helping them build better relationships, networks, customers, family, significant others. But I'm angry at how many people I see and how much of this world we compromise little bits at a time. It's like death by 1,000 cuts, whether it's our relationship with our wife, our kids, our business, our leadership, big integrity breaches. I'm in the purpose and pain business. So I hear and see it all, and I have no judgment. But I'm angry, and I want to be a force for love and goodness and light in this world and say, look, you can be successful. You can be financially free, but you can do it with integrity, class, and not destroying everything around you as well. And so that's what I'm all about, my friend.
No, and yeah, I mean, this is a great lesson. And I think that regardless of how successful one is, a person might start to, as they get up in their field, because they're ambitious, because they want to make money, because they want to have name or whatever it is that they want, they do begin to make these little compromises as they go. And it becomes almost, one hand not knowing what the other hand is doing. It becomes almost subconscious. And it grows in time because it's based on dishonesty, and that you can start to compromise situations in your marriage and with your children and with your personal life, and you become empty. And it's sort of like the question is, how do you actually get to your ambitions while at the same time developing a strong personal life, an inner life, a spiritual life? I think of Viktor Frankl, the psychologist, called it The Inner Life, from the Man's Search for Meaning. It's a very good book.
Oh, my God.
There you go.
Top 5 book. It should be required. And I don't like the word should. It should be required reading in high school.
I agree. And he went through the Holocaust. I mean, he was in a concentration camp, and he talks about the different things he drew from to survive that. And a lot of it had to do with just that he had a very well-developed inner life. He was a successful man outside of that before, but yet he had, and the people who didn't have that were the people who perished. It's sort of, they were more vulnerable. I mean, of course, anybody could perish in a second in that situation.
Indeed.
But, he would take a moment to view nature, even if it was looking out the window of a train that was taking him to Auschwitz. He would view the skyline. He would view something outside of himself as a way to connect. He also used humor in the situation that was hardly funny, and these different skills that he developed to cope with the situation and then bring to what he developed, which was logotherapy.
Man, I tell you what, and so it's interesting. I consider that one of the top 5 greatest books and possibly 5 greatest humans. I mean, if you literally look at
Oh,
just
yeah.
from the human level and the impact that man has had, just in my life alone. I have a huge section of him alone in my book, Legendary. And so, what I took away from that, and I've read it probably 3 times, is, and I'm a firm believer in this. And Charles, I don't know what you think about this, is I think the only true power we have in our lives, and he was in the worst of the worst of the worst people. I can't even fathom what he went through. It's written in the book.
Yes.
Viktor Frankl's The Man's Search for Meaning. But what I took away from it, what I've applied in my teachings and to myself, is the only thing, even with this COVID-19 thing that we've got going, the only true power we have in life is our choices, our mindset, and our attitudes. Our choices, our mindset, and our attitudes. And in that book, and the Germans were horrible in that they turned the Jewish people on themselves. And so for a little bit more entitlement, maybe a little bit better food, hey, I want you to turn on your brethren. That's a choice. But so many people said, no, hell no, I'm not going to turn on my people. I'm going to stand here. I'm going to choose to die or to do this with integrity and not hurt my fellow people. And he's got all these examples of the power of choice, attitude, and mindset. And you're right. He was always looking for the light, the love, and the goodness, even in the most horrific situations. And so Viktor Frankl is, to me, the power of choice. And, we can influence, we can inspire, we can lead, we can speak, we can navigate. But the only true choice at the end of the day we have, even till our last breath, is even then, like if you're standing there looking at a guy holding a gun to your head, do you choose to die with integrity? And that's a fascinating thing if you read that book deeply. It's so good.
No, well, one of the things I take away is that, you're in a situation where you've completely lost your freedom, 100%. Somebody could kill you in a minute. You have no control over your life. And so you have to work with them because you want to survive. But he would engage in these little minor acts of subversion and defiance, even if it was just only he knew about it, just because that's how he survived. That's what kept him going. It kept reminding him of who he was and that he was not part of this thing. Even if he had to cooperate with it, everybody did. And, when you have people who are controlling every aspect of your life, you have to work with them. But he would do little things that kept him separate. So to me, that's an interesting lesson. And obviously, once you reestablish your freedom, then you have that going for you. You can then really start to take actions that mean something to you, as you did with writing your book and leaving your business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you asked an epic question before. I think when you said Man's Search for Meaning, I was like, oh, I could talk about that book for 6 days. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. Yeah. It needs to be required reading. I don't know. Whoever listens, I know you've got a big following. Please make this required.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan.
Please make it required reading for everyone, especially in your family. But you asked a great choice is how do we live with our integrity, with keeping our ambition, with keeping our drive, with wanting more? And I think us as Americans and us in free capitalistic societies, our desire for more and better makes us more innovative. It makes us powerful. Our desire for freedom, I think it's a beautiful thing. But for me, it starts to me with who you surround yourself with. If your inner circle, I call it my inner board of directors, they hold me accountable to my value systems. If I start getting off the tracks, they kick me in the face and then they pick me back up. But I'm a fan of, you have to surround yourselves with people that you love and trust, who love and trust you, who want the best for you. They're not jealous of your success or envious of you. They just want the best of you from love. They hold you accountable. They guide you. They mentor you. And so to me, that's a huge part. And my second thing I would say is we don't do this enough. And I'm talking about your emotional fortress, your mental fortress. And what I mean by mental fortress is we all have those voices in our head that, what if they know my deepest, darkest desires? What if they figure out I don't know what I'm doing? And that little voice that says we're not good enough. There's tools, simple tools and tactics, et cetera, that we can start minimize that voice and start maximizing that I believe in myself. I'm good enough. I'm valuable. I'm worthy. I'm enough. And I'm talking about some of the baddest dudes around come into my office. I mean, men's men, and they still struggle from that mindset. And let me tell you what else they struggle with. As men, as powerful men, unconditional love for ourselves. We can give love, but it's super damn hard for some of us to receive love. So to me, every single day, brother, and I am adamant about this, and I require, whether it's my mastermind clients or my one-on-one clients, I require them. They have to spend a minimum of 30 minutes or an hour today investing in themselves, small things, just to be a little bit better. Build that emotional fortress, that mental fortress, the physical fortress, and spiritual fortress, so that we can go out and serve and be as strong as possible, because it's not if life happens, it's when. You know, the pain, the tragedies, the deaths, the sickness, the COVIDs, the natural, it just happens. But if we just a little bit of time each and every day with some small basic tools, we prioritize ourselves so that we can go serve others. That is how you start not compromising your integrity and value systems, because you have people holding you together and you're doing the work every single day. And you can't build physical muscles if you're not working on them. Same thing goes with your mental, spiritual, and mind muscles. And finally, I'm a big believer in this. I think work-life balance and balancing of time is nonsense. I really do believe it's nonsense. However, I think Bill Gates, Donald Trump, Warren Buffett, they have the same 24 hours in the day we do, and probably higher demands on their time, much higher demands. However, we have to become the masters of our time and reconquer our time and prioritize and reprioritize depending on what's going on in our life. If our wife or kids need us, we got to prioritize there. If we want to build a world-class business or a world-class movement, or we run for politics, our time goes there. So we have to know that we are the masters of our time. And busy is code for I am not in control of my time, which is just not true. So just things to think about. That's ways that we keep this train on the tracks, and so that we don't have these big integrity breaches like you see at Enron and others. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing I've noticed too. I want to say this because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. There is a lot of, I'm not going to say who they are. There's a lot of people out there that say that business and corporations are bad. That's nonsense. Only a small percentage, very small percentage. And that's what we blast all over our media. Let me tell you, every single one of my clients, whether in a mastermind or one-on-one, here's what they started with me. Tommy, this is tough times. We've lost a lot of revenue. We've got big decisions to make. I want to save my company and save my employees. Let's dig in, and how do we do it? That's where 100% of the people who contacted me, their business and their people, how can we do the best for them? Let's brainstorm together. How do we overcome these financial consequences? How do we invest back in? What can we do to keep, because they consider, it's called a profit burden. They consider they're just as important as their family and their children. I have these lives in my hands, and some of the guys I deal with, 4 or 5, some of the guys I deal with, 1,000. But they take it very serious. These are men of integrity and women of integrity, and business is a force of good. So whoever out there is telling you that business is bad, stop listening to them.
That's just ideology. I mean, they don't know, and these are usually people who know nothing about business.
Right, academics.
Obviously, 99% of corporations and businesses are well-meaning and are good, and they're offering a product or service. They care about their employees. They're made up by their employees. They care about their owners and their stockholders, and that system is the best, most progressive system ever known to man. The development of these big companies that can create things and create wealth and create products and help people. So, that's just ideology. But I like what you're saying about having a team of people around you, both professionally and personally, that are people you can trust, that are people that are good at what they do, and that are people that you're in sync with. That's so basic to anyone that's successful, to have that, and it's, again, both in your professional and personal life. And also the business of feeling negative about yourself. Everybody kind of tends to go into that at different times, even if briefly during the course of a day, because of circumstances outside of yourself or something going on in yourself. And that, I find that if you stop yourself when you're in that mindset and say, just be aware that it's happening, you can get out of it. Because if you're going to start to be negative and you're going to start to be sad and go negative, then everything is not going to go well. It's something you can control. And I think that's a very valuable lesson there.
That's a huge lesson, Charles, and that's a powerful statement you just made, my brother, because so the first thing you said is super, super powerful. The first thing is awareness. And so if you start, and I'm going to give you a simple tool, by the way, like a really easy tool that helps me, and it helps a lot of other folks as well. I use the word folks. I'm from the Southeast United States. It's interesting. The first thing you said is awareness. So if you feel sad or angry or judgmental or fearful or worry, or that you lack a little control, and I think we all feel that right now. And remember, the only thing we control is our choices, mindsets. But the first key to all of this is becoming aware and saying, I don't like this. Enough is enough. And then I make a choice to start changing that feeling, which we can choose, like what you just said, we can choose to do that. And to me, the simplest way to do it really quickly, and no one has to know you're doing this because it's all happening in your brain, is you can, with your eyes open, you take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, and you immediately go to gratitude. I'm thankful for the air in my lungs, the beating of my heart, that I live in a free country, that there's a beautiful bush outside. My dog is to my right. I mean, there's a billion things. I can look around your office and pick out a million things to be thankful for. And, that fact that I have a shirt on. The moment, the awareness, what you said, Charles, is key. But the second piece, a little ninja trick, is go directly into gratitude and appreciation for what you do have. You cannot be scared, worried, or mad when you're in a state of gratitude, which is just parallel to love. And that's just a simple tip that I put in my life.
Absolutely. All right. So my guest is Tommy Breedlove. The book is legendary. Tommy, let my listeners know where they can get more information about you and about your book and about any websites you'd like to impart. I certainly will put those up also on the YouTube show.
Totally, brother. And so for me, the reason we picked legendary is in a world of self-promotion, if we call ourselves legends, the people laugh us out of the room. So legendary is something we aspire to, and you can be a really amazing legend or a really terrible legend. And you don't have to be rich or famous. You've just got to leave this world a little bit better than we found it. And it covers everything in between. We're so thankful it's become a USA Today and Wall Street bestseller. It covers everything from discovering our purpose to financial confidence and freedom to reconquering our time to building that inner circle, that board of directors we talk about, and mastering our mindset. So it's a very powerful. What I'm doing right now, because this COVID crisis is so imperative, if you go to tommybreedlove.com/gifts, that's GIFTS, we're giving away the financial confidence and freedom chapters as well as the mastering your mindset chapter. So those are for you to have. And I'm also giving away my purpose formula in a one-page document that tells you my purpose, because again, I think we all have purpose, and I think this is a great time to find ours. It's that higher calling that we can do inside or outside of work that helps us feel more fulfilled. And so I also provide my purpose statement with a blank sheet and the formula for you to find your own. So you get 2 free chapters and my purpose. And so it's a really cool thing to have. And finally, I was talking about how I invest in myself every single day, or how I live my life. There's also a one-page document of my legendary life plan. And so tommybreedlove.com/gifts. I'm all over social media. The book is everywhere, by the way. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, I would say airports and bookstores. It's there. You just can't get them. But Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all the big carriers have it. But on social media, I am constantly putting out content around financial confidence or mindset or love. It's just light. If you look on your social feed right now, there's probably a lot of darkness. If you follow me, there's a lot of light. And so at Tommy Breedlove on Instagram, Tommy Breedlove on Facebook, same thing on LinkedIn. And I'd love for you to visit this, me give you the free chapters. And I'm so super proud of this work. And Charles, this has been an epic conversation. I'm very grateful for you.
As am I. Listen, I feel very inspired talking to you, Tommy. And I really appreciate what you're doing. And thank you, really. Thanks so much.
Thank you, brother.
All right. And have a great afternoon. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.